Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's a cold winter's morning here at home, and today I'm going to show you how to smoke deers, or venison as us literate class call it. To get started, you'll need a barbecue. I like this inexpensive Weber, and they're like $50 on Facebook Marketplace. You will need 4 basic things to start your low and slow. You'll need some heat beads, some fire starters, some matches, and I'm using some mulberry wood chunks that I cut up this morning. I prefer the snake method as this gives a nice even heat for the duration of your cook. Add 10 heat beads to your charcoal chimney. Now you'll need a venison shoulder. You'll have to go and collect it. Righto, it's just that first fallow deer I've shot. We're just going to take the meat from this one, so we've just gutted out in the field and just made use of an overhanging branch and a bit of rope. And for this I'm using the Oak Ridge Barbecue venison and wild game rub that I got from my local butcher. You don't have to use a fancy rub, you can literally just use salt, pepper, garlic powder. Just keep it simple and let the flavours speak for itself with the smoke and the meat. Once your heat beads are ready, we tip them to the start of the chain, which creates a domino effect. Add a foil tray to catch any drippings from the meat. Then place a chunk of your smoking wood directly on top of the ignited heat beads so we can start smoking right away. So if you don't have access to some fresh, say something like this mulberry, you can get these wood chunks pretty much from anywhere. Bunnings in Australia. These are what you want. Don't buy chips. These are like the worst thing for smoking with, and don't ever soak them in water. It doesn't help. For good barbecue smoke, you want a thin blue smoke and not a thick white smoke. The thick white smoke is going to make your meat taste bad. As the most important things in barbecue are temperature and feel, we're not necessarily cooking to a time, so it's important that you have some type of thermometer to use for this cook. I like using this Inkbird Bluetooth one because it connects to an app on my phone. I can go back inside and keep an eye on the temperature of the pit and also on the internal temperature of the meat. To start off with, you'll want your top and your bottom vents on the barbecue fully open, and then you can adjust these to achieve the desired temperatures. Righto, so our venison shoulder's been in there for about 4 or 5 hours now at 225 Fahrenheit or about 107 degrees Celsius. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull it out, we're going to wrap it up in some aluminium foil with some apple cider vinegar, and that apple cider vinegar just helps break down any of the, like the collagen and all that lovely fibrous stuff that's often hard to break down in low and slow cooking. Don't be afraid to use 3 or more sheets of aluminium foil to really trap the moisture in there. Once you've finished wrapping it all up in foil, it's time to put a temperature probe back in and put it back into the barbecue. So you'll probably have another 2 to 3 hours of cook time left at this point. I use that time to go through the garden, pick some rosemary, pick some spring onions, and also pick some of the coolest new addition to my garden, which is some native Australian thyme. So you'll have heaps of time to kill while you're waiting for this after it's been wrapped, so do some yard work, play with the kids, catch up on the newest Wet Memory YouTube episode, do whatever you want, go crazy. Once the internal temperature of your meat reaches about 94 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it's time to probe it with your temperature probe, and it should press into the meat with little resistance. It is now time to rest the meat. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you'll need a Yeti. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll need an esky. I have a hybrid, which is a cheap esky with the Yeti sticker on it. You'll also need a towel you don't mind smelling like delicious smoked meats forever. Rightio, so venison shoulders off the barbecue. We're going to make some pizza bases from scratch, put our toppings on them, whack them in the oven here inside. Just see how it goes. That meat to rest for a minimum of 1 to 2 hours. In the meantime, you can start preparing the herbs we picked from the garden to go on top of the pizzas. I always forget something when I'm cooking, but this time Google came through with the goods for a nice yeast-free pizza dough recipe. Now you need to combine your flour, your baking powder, your salt, and your sugar, and stir it all around. Add your dry ingredients to a mixing bowl, followed by your extra water and olive oil. If your dough is still a little sticky after you pull it out of the mixer, you can just add a bit more flour into it to get the consistency right. Knead it all out. I forgot where my rolling pin was, so I just improvised with a wine bottle. Just MacGyver it up. Now you will need to preheat your oven to 230 degrees if you're fan forced, or 250 degrees Celsius if you're not fan forced. And while we wait for the oven to preheat, it's the perfect time to start pulling our venison shoulder. The next thing to do is apply your base layer of sauce. I'm using a barbecue sauce for this one. Now it's time to add the rest of your toppings. You can take a bit of creative license here, but at least have cheese and meat on the pizza. And if you happen to put pineapple on it, don't tag me in the photo on Instagram. Okay, thanks. Now we whack those pizzas in the oven. While we wait, I want to show you a little something just to jazz up your pizza a little bit. Fried rosemary. Fried rosemary pairs perfectly with the venison, and it'll give a nice crunch to the pizza. The pizza is ready when the crust and the cheese are a cliche golden brown. How's pizza, James?
Good.
Smoked fellow deer's shoulder.
What do you want?
What's that? You want more?
Disney.
So what did you think of the smoked venison pizzas? Drop a comment down below, and as always, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It really helps get the content out there so you can keep watching it.